A shaggy-looking girl in her late teens or early 20s kneels on the ice with an electronic contraption in her hand. Hearing you approach, she looks up.
Oh, hello there.
It's cold out here, but she's not wearing a hat. She must be freezing.
Huh? So should you. I don't know, some kind of a store? Maybe a general store? Look, man, fuck the hat. I'm sorry I said fuck the hat. I was concentrating on something else. My whole family swears and it rubbed off on me. A cell. Why? Okay. This is a portable recording device. It's for field recording. Low quality, but still. Actually, just one wire. I picked on it till the braiding came loose. The wire leads to a contact microphone. A contact mic records sounds from inside things, like this ice.
Your mangled brain would like you to know there is a boxer called Contact Mike. No. You're welcome.
Yeah, I record stuff with it. No. This is a contact microphone. It's for recording inside solid objects. Contact mic just beats people up. Same place I got the recorder from, the Elysium. Oh man, you haven't been to the Elysium? It's the coolest place in this whole drug-addled shithole. It's a music club and a synthesizer workshop on Boogie Street in Jamrock. Musicians live there, like real musicians. I once saw Arno van Eyck.
Thinking about it really cheers her up. It's a long way from here, though.
Oh yeah, guess you wouldn't know Van Eyck. Or really be a Elysium-going kind of person. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means either. That's cool. Sucks, man. Was there something else? About the contact mic, perhaps? The mic? I don't exactly know. Somehow it doesn't pick up vibrations from the air. The book said it only picks up structure-borne sound, if you like technobabble. Okay. Recording, I guess. I think I'm recording cracks in the ice, but there's no way to tell. Not without headphones. I think I just recorded your footsteps too. Not sure how that will sound. My boyfriend sold them. I don't know, man. Things. Just stuff you need for life.
A lie. They were probably pawned off for something suspicious.
The musicians in the Elysium used them for making music. They looped the stuff, cutting the tapes together. They make music out of cracks in the ice and keys jangling. Crazy sounds like that. It's hard to explain. Anyway, I thought I'd make some too. It's supposed to be, like, a music place anyway. I don't really know what I'm doing. They use synthesizers too. I don't have a synthesizer.
She looks at the recording device, the thing she thought would fill her hours with joy and escape. It's turning out to be an empty fantasy. She feels childish, very useless all of a sudden.
Take this, you're cold.
No, man, fuck that, I'm cool. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry about the fuck.
It's okay.
That? The boys think it could be a place, like the Elysium or something. Stupid. It's really not gonna be a Elysium, that's for sure. Yeah, Andre and the guys, they're inside, in the tent.
And why is that?
They got too much stuff crammed in there, no room. Music stuff mostly. Like this tape recorder, but bigger. And there's piles of it. Yep, they were pretty. I'm sorry we sold those. That stuff is more expensive than I am. More expensive than any of us, really. Doesn't matter. I can take the cold. Go ahead. Okay. Hello again.
The device is cold to the touch. An angular Omicron logo adorns the yellow plastic cover. Underneath, you see a reel of tape rolling. You put the device back on the ice. The tent is just tarpaulin fabric covering a pile of stuff. The flap is open. Inside, 3 young men, all in forward-looking apparel, reminiscent of the sticker on the padlock, are listening to some new form of music. It's like nothing you've ever heard. One of them looks at you.
Come on, get in and close the flap behind you. The warm stuff's getting out. Sorry, we barely have room for one.
You go ahead. I'm too old for this.
I'm actually not, he thinks. I just dislike delinquents.
I'm sure you will feel right at home. I'll keep watch.
You see a youngish man bleaching the tips of his hair with a toothbrush. He puts the toothbrush down and extends his hand in greeting.
Hello, I'm Andre. It's a pleasure to meet you.
There is definitely something futuristic about his hair, aggressively so. You get the sense that this is what the future will look like. Imbecilic, yes, should the future ever come, it will look deeply imbecilic, like this guy. His grip is strong, sweaty, and warm. He's trying to project and inspire confidence.
This is my posse, Noid,
The young man with earrings looks at you suspiciously.
and Egghead. Egg! Together with a Settle Burger, who's out there right now, doing some seriously progressive sonic experimentation, we like to think of ourselves as music venue organisers. We have many in the pipeline, officer.
That means they haven't set up a single one yet.
You see, we've been all over Jamrock North, prospecting for real estate to establish a new venue in.
Also for talent.
Yeah, thank you, Egghead. And while there is no shortage of raw, unfettered talent spinning tapes in Jamrock, we've had rotten luck with the real estate part.
Place is a shithole.
I apologise for my friend Noid's potty mouth. I realise this is not how you speak to a police officer. He has authority issues. Which brings me to the problem of occupied ecclesiastical property. I bet you've noticed the derelict hive of narcomania on the coast.
An attempt to pander to your perceived conservative sensibilities. No person his age would ever use a word like narcomania with a straight face. Don't fall for it.
I'm talking about the church, and I'm not exaggerating. Even a place of spiritual refuge can become a magnet for all sorts of dopeheads and burnouts if left unattended.
Dopeheads. Burnouts.
Well, I'm sad to say, that's exactly what happened. Sad because we were just about to put Martinez on the map with one of the maddest dance clubs in Jamrock. Nah, strike that, in Reversholt.
Strike that. The word.
And sadder yet, because the dopeheads and burnouts holed up in there are the worst kind.
He leans back a little, watching you with a steady, serious gaze, letting you imagine just how bad those dopeheads and burnouts really are. Good. This calls for an opinion. You're an expert in those.
They're spooky. I was hoping you would be the judge of that, officer. All I can say is, their spookiness is the kind that keeps us from restoring this church into a community centre and a place of spiritual refuge.
Also, they don't eat or clean the building. Shit's gonna collapse. People just wanna spin tapes without them spooking it up. Place has bad signs. No one can dance like that.
Thank you, Egghead.
So you're gonna look into it, right? It should be a police matter. Getting them out. Whatever spooky stuff they're doing, I'm sure it's not what the Ecclesiastes meant their property for. All right, man.
Andre's obviously very happy you took him seriously. The whole tent is. The boys exchanged giddy looks.
Yes, I asked Noy to install a measure against more drifters wandering in. It's a temporary fix, just something to contain the situation.
I had to do it in an hurry. Not my best work, but it should hold for a while.
Of course. Noid, give the officer the key.
All right.
It's as if time has frozen somehow. You think you can sense the key moving in the air. Yeah, this is going to be way cool. Blam! Straight in the eye. Straight in the old eye orb. In the looking ball. A stabbing pain. Tears stream uncontrollably from your right eye.
Man, I'm super sorry. That was totally my bad. I got overexcited. Threw him too hard. I'm sorry.
He looks like he's genuinely sorry he didn't throw them better.
I really am sorry, man. Just take this, okay?
Wow, looks like there's quite a lot there.
The key?
He is shifting in his spot, uncomfortably, still feeling sorry for the mishap.
We were talking about the padlock, I think. Not long, like a week maybe? I'm super sure they're alive. I mean, come on. I'm at least 90%, maybe 85% sure they're still alive.
Somewhere in the ruinous past that led you here, there was something called exams. You may have learned the term involuntary manslaughter there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. I guess it wasn't very hardcore of us to just lock them in like that.
Me too. I shouldn't have that kind of power over another person. I'm not the one with the violence monopoly here. You are. I'm glad that key is out of my hands now.
Sure, man. Tell us what you want to know. Let's do it. Truth is, I don't really know. None of us do. I don't even know how many there are. All we've seen are glimpses. Yes, there's also the machinery.
This machinery is of the deeply mystical variety.
When I first scouted the place, back in February, it was abandoned, empty. Took some time getting the crew together. So about 2 weeks ago, we came here hoping to set the stuff up. Suddenly, there are all these strange machines lying around in there.
One of them has wires running into bowls of water. Wires into water. Never seen anything like it.
Andre, tell him about the feeling.
Oh, and it felt like there was something in there with us, watching us from the dark.
No, the other one.
Which other one? I'm not as in tune with my emotions as you are, Egg.
Felt like silence. Awful silence.
Not exactly. We've just seen someone who we think is a woman go in and out of the church. A couple of times. And we felt someone, or something, eyeing us inside. But that's kinda it. Sure. What? Yes. What? Yeah. Good to have, bitch to carry. When I first scouted the place, I did some reconnaissance. I'm not sure the church even has running water. Oh. It's the one they sell at the fuel station.
It's like he's lying to you, my liege. But he's slippery enough that there's nothing for you to grab hold of. He nods enthusiastically, no doubt a little relieved. Okay, so the Speed Freaks want to start a club for dance music. That much checks out. Youths like music. You feel as though you might have liked music more when you were young, too. But you digress. The gist of it is, they want to turn the church into a club, but a suspicious element has overtaken the building. It's very important to understand what the gist of things is. Always consult the gist before making up your mind. This is going well. Plus, and it has to be considered, you can't invent the future of dance music in this smelly old tent. Imagine if you had the church. That settles it. Analysis complete. Their story checks out. It still feels as if this didn't quite go as it should have. But
As always, we'll be right here, waiting patiently for the news. Yeah!
a pane of eternite has been planted into the snow. 2 poles are holding it up. Barely holding it up. It could fall over any minute. A stronger gust of wind might be enough. The pane falls into the icy snow with a soft thunk. You see a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D.
And Mikhail noticed the windows, especially with how there are no windows on the south side. This was to deal with. You officers, come to investigate the historic subtext of West Martinez? I'm Tran Heilostam. You must be Kim Kitsuragi, right? I was just telling my son about this building. Not a lot of people realize the historic significance here. Very rich in hypertext.
Nice to meet you.
Oh yes, so Mikhail. They had to deal with monitor glare, especially in the summer. They still had vector monitors back then. That was 49 years ago. So they didn't have windows on the south wall. Yes, hypertext, young carp, and the collection of cultural hyperlinks. No, I can't say that we've met before, but I've heard of Kim, of course. Mikhail, say hi to the officers. Mikhail's a little tired today. We spent all night trying to run Orbis on his radio computer. Have you heard of it? It's a programming language used in Grad. Quite tricky, but he wanted to play this Grad-made adventure program. We've been getting really into Worms lately.
The man speaks in the artificial cadence of a professor, or someone who's been on too many radio shows.
But I assume you're not here for giant worms when there are so many real things to see. Just as I was telling Mikhail before, this is where the Coalition landed in 08. We could be standing on what is the most interesting landmark in Revachol West.
This man is your half-brother. You feel it. But why? Well, get a load of this guy. He really enjoys his trivia. The Orbis programming language was named after its inventor, Victor Orbis, a cybernetician from Grad. They run Vox in the Occidental countries.
Aha! But it's not just any empty old building. What not a lot of people know is this used to be the R&D department of Feld Electrical. And Feld, which now sells ink cartridges mostly, was once a top dog in the turn-of-the-century cybernetics boom.
Hold on. What's R&D?
Apologies, it's an acronym for research and development. They don't use it anymore. You're probably more familiar with RTD, research and technological development.
Mea culpa. You are not familiar with that one either. This man is a bookhead. It looks old and weathered, with seagulls picking apart its stone and metal carcass. Bushy undergrowth has taken hold of the collapsed rooftop. Some kind of bird has set up a nest on a broken windowsill.
That's not surprising. Only a vestigial ink cartridge and ferrotape manufacturer remains. They started out as a midway electronics outfit in Königstein 2 centuries ago. After an aggressive move to Revachol, Feld became a global player in the emerging personal electronics market of the pre-revolutionary era. Still, Tricentennial was beating them in business machines. But Feld had an ace up their sleeve, or should I say they were developing an ace up their sleeve. I'm mixing my metaphors here. It was here in Martinez, possibly in this very building, that they developed prototypes for a tape computer. An elegant folding mechanism of rollers and ferrotape ribbons, portable enough to be a take-it-home solution, revolutionizing business machines, possibly even bring them to the average consumer, which is a feat of engineering even today's giants, Rehm, ICN and ZAM, haven't achieved yet. Indeed. What?
The revolution!
Unfortunately, their moonshot project never made it to the market. Feld's move to Revachol backfired. The revolutionary government liquefied their assets and expropriated those very advanced prototypes, possibly from this very building, or one of the adjacent ruins. All of this was built by Feld, even the boardwalk. Wild Pines built Martinez proper as a resort for their middle management. Feld built this side of town for R&D. Yes, they even built a pleasure wheel, but that got destroyed in the war.
A pleasure wheel?
Perhaps reminded of a childhood memory. It's clear he would prefer there were a big wheel lighting up the coast.
Yes, to lure in their star engineers. This part of Martinez was nothing but reeds before Feld arrived. They had to make the prospect of living here attractive. It was supposed to become a global center for innovation in cybernetics. But history had other plans. Actually, no one knows. No one even knows what a computer made entirely of tape would look like. But word has it, they were very elegant, exquisite, alien-looking turn-of-the-century hardware.
Buckle up.
10 years ago, I did a little freelancing, I guess you could say. I was a special consultant for an exhibition at the Wompty Dumpty Dum Center in Vredefort, Oranje. It raised the same questions, and we had lengthy discussions with Paul Ockerman, who was head curator at the time. This was before the twins Keith and Guy Hughes joined the team, trying to...
He did it. He said, Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center, like it's the most natural thing in the world. What the hell is a Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center? And who the hell are Keith and Guy Juiced?
The Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center for Contemporary Arts. The exhibition itself drew on Lagerman's notion of memory, and so there were some parallels. That's why the head curator, Paul Ockerman, chose to...
Actually, I think there is. No, it's too much. He's joking.
In fact, I'm not. The Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center is a place you can visit if you're ever in Vredefort and are ever in the market for an exhibition space / contemporary art research center. But perhaps I should return to the tape computers. As I was saying, the device itself was very elegant, fragile even. One could write directly on the tape using a special chemical solution. The machine would then analyze the handwriting, perform operations, and project output onto a white screen. It was a beautiful, delicate thing.
Made of black film and folding tape structures.
Even one would be very useful. Though I understand the socio-economic causes of the revolution, it pains me to imagine the revolutionaries setting fire to the precious device. But so they did. The Feld playback experiment vanished into the fires of '07. Who knows? Maybe it was an accident, or maybe they didn't want the technology to end up in the wrong hands. Either way, they're all gone now. All 3 versions of the prototype. Nothing but debris and ashes remain inside that building. Oh, I'm afraid it didn't end well for the boys. But this story is a bit too dark for little Mikhail here. Now, if you were to ask about tape computers,
He means that the boys got shot by the communists. The boys were bourgeois.
Tape computers. They used them for military communications, but also to write and send out press releases, the most notorious example being Le Décret de Mars. What's the Mars Decree? I mean the radio transmission sent out to news agencies and world governments by the newly created Commune of Revachol on the 7th of March in the year 02.
A short-lived legislative foundation for a short-lived utopia.
It's a beautiful piece of text, actually. A singer-songwriter I know, Charette, called it a love poem to Revachol on her political concept album Bon Baiser d'Insolente. You should read it. Every local library in Revachol stocks a copy of the decree. I tried to get Mikhail to memorize it. Tried to. Someone was much too interested in worms to be paying any attention. But of course, what else? No, thanks to you for having me and little Mikhail here to pick your brain. A very interesting conversation indeed.
Pick your brain. If anything, this was rather one-sided. He did the talking. Whatever. The remaining windows rattle from a strong gust of wind. They're covered in a thick layer of grime. They must have been like this for 40 years. Dripping water falls from a high place. All you can see is the shadow of a collapsing staircase. There's rust and corrosion on the bars. They're foaming with it. And a small layer of white salt from the sea. A metal payphone under a yellow plastic dome. You could use it to call someone, unless you're out of change. You hear the tone. The machine is inoperable. Calling. Still, this feels wrong. Should you be doing this? End of tone.
Pierre? Is that you, Pierre? Do you have any news about Pierre? He's my sister's grandson. He used to visit me as a lad. Fine young man. But who are you, then? A salesman of some sort? Modern goods are rubbish, and I can't afford them anyhow. It's a shame what you did to our country. This is because we are bred to be leaders. I can hear the common or mixed background from your voice. I just so wanted it to be Pierre. Have a pleasant evening, prankster.
Disconnect tone. Calling. Still calling. Again? Seriously? Someone with a masculine voice picks up.
Hello, Gerard speaking.
Hello, Gerard. Technically speaking, you're electricity. No, what you are is a surprise. Get his wife on the phone.
Who is this? Who the fuck do you think you are talking to me like that?
You pick up the handset. There's a tone. The machine is operable. Calling. 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 Still calling. Still calling.
pulling me, man. I'll get you your money, alright? I just need till tonight. Let me work.
The phone gets hanged up fast as lightning. All you hear is a little shuffle of nylon as the hand moves on the other end. Disconnect tone. Calling.
I'm tired. Writing. I hate writing so much. But I have to get back to it.
The man disappears with a sigh. You do not hear the customary disconnect tone, just silence in the handset. The machine is still waiting for you to dial a number. Seems like it did not have time to swallow the coin. This sometimes happens. Lucky you. The call went too fast for the payphone to register. You can still make a new one without paying. You close your eyes and feel your finger move on the rotary dial. You start with 005, as before. The area code for Revachel's zone of control, followed by 7 digits at random. The last one makes the silence turn into a ring. It's calling, still calling, still. Time keeps passing. In the distance, seagulls squawk. No one is home at this number. But the coin, it's still in there. You find yourself thinking, what were you trying to achieve by closing your eyes? Did you want your muscle memory to take over and call somewhere? Where? Home? He doesn't have a home. Not anymore. Someone has left an unidentifiable article of clothing on this railing. It smells really bad. It's streaked with dried seagull shit and tangled with pieces of seaweed. A dangling arm suggests that there might be a jacket beneath the crust of filth. It seems likely that it was left in the surf until someone laid it out on this fence to dry out. Unfortunately, that just seems to have stiffened it into a shapeless mass.
Please tell me you're not taking that with you. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to have it returned.
More than twice your height stands shut in front of you. The rectangular sea-worn ornamentation appears in stark contrast to the padlock carelessly drilled into the wood. The lock turns easily. You hear a click as the shackle pops open.
Let's go.
As you do, you hear the echo of the doomed commercial area, its black holes and dusty machines. Then the feeling passes. A great whoosh of air rushes into the dark innards of the church, as though rushing to fill a great vacuum in the heart of the city. silver and apricot faience, the young mother of humanism stands above you. A crack runs across her body. She is impossibly tall, oval-faced and sad, a dark and radiant majesty. This is her innocence, Dolores Dei. Cradled in her arms are a pair of glowing lungs, clearly visible from underneath her flowing dress. You should kneel. Your knees touch the floor. The floorboards are hard and cold. There you kneel among the snowdrifts, diffuse light falling on your hands from beyond the glass. The world is silent, but for the creaks and cracks of the massive wooden structure behind you, it covers you from the wind outside. In the darkness, you sense her eyes on you, inspecting you with their multicolored glass, as if you're a bug under a microscope. The woman looks down at you kneeling. She towers among her followers, architects, laymen, courtiers. There is a sad smile on her lips and a glint in her green-blue eye of what? Compassion? Remorse? She acknowledges the passing of someone who is still alive. You. As that terrible word passes through your mind, the lieutenant draws an X-shaped cross from shoulder to shoulder. Your fingertips touch your chest 4 times. Then you rise from your knees into the apricot-colored light of the window. Above you, the woman still smiles her distant smile, sundered by the crack in the glass. The mother of humanism stands above you, a precious and complex wax painting. Despite the damage you've done to yourself, the title appears lodged in your hippocampus. This is her innocence, Dolores Dei, the innocence of humanism, internationalism, and the welfare state. Perhaps the most famous human being ever to have lived. No amount of Commodore Red can wipe her sad smile from your brain thing. It has survived the deluge and haunts you still, and will haunt you forever, as it haunts all men. The highest category of historic individual, an embodiment of the world spirit. In a way, an innocence is elected to office by the founding party, a precedent that has taken place a mere 6 times in the entirety of history. The legal system of the Real Belt is built from the ground up to accommodate innocent rule should it coincide with our time. An innocence is infallible. The decisions made by one are not decisions. They are inevitabilities. What would have happened anyway? Only accelerated, packed into decades instead of centuries. An innocence is a continuous, compressed event, a sacred human being. It is an honor and a glory to live when one is in office. No, we are alone. Terrifying is a term too emotionally charged for your semantic memory, or what remains of it. But terrifying, it's a simple word. She was bad for humanity, and you shouldn't have started thinking about her. You already do. Although she is often considered to be the greatest human being to ever live, there was something ominous about Dolores Dei, constantly surrounded by her terriers. She was the most socially secluded and least self-aware of all the innocences. Some modern thinkers would consider her a war criminal for the campaigns she waged against the Mesk state. And then there were the resettlement programs. The Mesk state tried to detach itself from innocentic rule. Parts of the world were experiencing whiplash from accelerated into secularism. Her mandatory education programs and mass resettlement of upstream Marguerite were problematic as well. Dissenters were suppressed by a military force she called the army of humanity, suggesting those who fight against it are not part of humanity. She adored chess, yes, but also military war games. Dolores Dei often holds a tiny tin soldier between her index finger and thumb in icons such as this. She was also blonde, the blondest woman you have ever seen, with green eyes the color of the Pacific, mare interregnum. Little is known of her Marchese husband. It's as if he vanished from history after completing his role, which was to introduce Dolores Dei to court. In conclusion, yes, there is something lonely, paranoid, and even terrifying that people seldom mention, but feel when they think of her. This subtle terror is part of her iconography.
Lieutenant Yefreiter, you've stood there for over 5 minutes. What are you thinking of, if I may ask? I don't know about that. It was a different time, a different war. Either way, this church, the coast in general, we shouldn't linger here. This isn't a good place to get lost in. We should conclude our business and move on.
The mother of humanism stands above you, a precious the shards glimmer in the dark. You see little pearls of light on the edges of the crack that splits the female figure. Something was written there. Remains of broken letters line the emulsion. What it said, you do not know. The mother of humanism stands above you. A jigsaw of broken shards falls into place in front of you, a ghostly reconstruction of the stained glass window. Before it was shattered, there was an older woman beneath the younger one, and a text, a light motif below them both. Unknown. The escutcheon on her throne says, Irene the Navigator. She is depicted as an older woman wearing thick-rimmed eyeglasses, holding a golden Reichsapfel in one hand and a scepter in the other. This is the queen her innocence Day advised. Above, she herself is whole. Small figures of wise men, common men, worshippers walk up the stairs to stand at her feet. Secret servicemen, 30 years, stand in a row guarding her. It must have taken years to produce this work in all its dizzying detail. Below both women, in luminous black letters, Après la vie, mort. Après la mort, la vie de nouveau. And then along the left side, Après le monde, la gré. Après le gré, le monde de nouveau. After life, death. After death, life again. After the world, the pale. After the pale, the world again. This is the great leitmotif of humanism, a summary of the effect of the discovery of this isola, the Insulindian, on human thinking. A tremendous sea change akin to finding life after death.
Death, life again. After the world, the pale. After the pale, the world again. This exaltation is common in Dolorian sacralism. In the early years, it was even incorporated as the RCM slogan. No more, however. Justice, union, prudence, and force. So do I.
The mother of humanism towers above you, a wax painting on a cracked pane of glass. Nothing has changed in her expression.
Yes, I wasn't sure before, but this must be the Dolorian Church of Humanity in Martinez. It's called the Small Pinewood Church in some records. It's a minor landmark, not easy to find. Most maps misplace it. It was built not long after Revachol's founding, 300 or so years ago, by first-generation settlers.
On the coast of an uninhabited archipelago where only animals had roamed before, in the wild reeds.
There used to be 7 stave churches on the coast. Les Sept Sœurs, they call them, the 7 sisters. Only one remains. The rest were burnt in the revolution or used for building materials. We should be respectful here, although the building appears to be deserted. I do not believe we'll find anything connected to the lynching here. Something else, perhaps?
Respectful? Is the lieutenant a follower of Delorianism? There it is again. A small pang of guilt. It's time to ask him what happened here.
I have a theory, yes. There was a police raid a while back. I heard the place was shot to pieces. Well, your station was involved, I hear. Although I can't be sure.
How come the lieutenant isn't sure? Is this confidential information?
3 precincts were involved in the raid, and people say Precinct 41 was one of them. I'm sorry, I'm not saying you were. It was a clandestine operation. I don't know anything about it, why it was conducted or who participated. I try not to pry into extra-district matters. Good luck. You will not get information on a confidential operation from your station secretary just by calling. If you really don't remember, it might be better to keep this one forgotten. It happened a while ago. It's unimportant to our business in Martinez now. Yes, we all are. Her name, body, and rule are synonymous with humanism. The laws we enforce are Dolorian in origin.
The woman looks by in silence, smiling enigmatically.
It's not spiritual, it's constitutional. The Dolorian system does not demand faith, only accordance.
The silence in this part of the church, it's almost palpable. All the shifting matter and shuffling of living things is gone. Nothing seems to exist beyond the church anymore. Maybe if you were to stand in just the right spot, even your footsteps would be completely silent. And then it's gone, almost all of it, but for the faintest of hums. It seems the sound here is detached from its source somehow, if not blotted out outright. Truly unusual. You can hardly hear your own breathing. Your voice is barely audible. Not a howl, but the softest of whimpers. You produce a few muffled thumps, after which the silence feels even more total, somehow. The lieutenant points to his ears and shakes his head. Then he leans closer.
Can you hear anything? The church just has strange acoustics, some engineering trick.
His detached tone conceals how uncomfortable he is. Maybe the church was designed this way to prevent boisterous activity, singing and dancing on its premises.
Please, detective, not this again.
The orderly rows of ceiling panels become barely visible, then disappear completely in the darkness of the tower overhead. The silence, the darkness, they've enveloped you as in a cocoon. You cannot move anymore. Relax. It'll be okay. Just darkness without end. It makes your head spin. Filled with vague shapes of woodwork, The sense of a great height, filled with vague shapes of woodwork. There's nothing. You're dizzy and disoriented as you see dark and more dark rising.
Officer, what are you looking at?
You see something hanging from the rafters, looking straight at you with dark eyes. Maybe it's possible to talk to it. Is that a man? Looks more like part of the carpentry of the building came alive and is now studying you intently. The man leans forward a little, fixing you with a steady, unreadable gaze, then speaks.
Habitual alcohol use has made you into a scared little pussy, Holmes. But don't worry, everything's gonna be alright. You come to the right place.
That accent is Villalobos, a peninsula in Mesque and a district in general. There's a sizable contingent of Villalobos-speaking Mesques in Revachol.
Here you can receive the mother's love. And when you're ready, she will take your hand and lift you out of the despair at the bottom of that bottle.
This man is obviously a habitual narcotics user. Do we really need to question him?
I'm put off by this religious stuff, he thinks. And maybe the ceiling climbing, too. It's all very hard to square with the lieutenant's own view of reality. Hey, and what was that about the bottle again? You haven't even drank that much lately. Lay off it already. Shish.
Está crudo, way. I see deep inside you. Your body and your spirit are suffering greatly from overindulgence. And you don't even know it. Not all of it. I was like you once. You don't know all the havoc el vino is wrecking on your mind and your spirit. Necesita parar, homie.
You know, actually, since we're here, you may want to pay attention to what the ceiling climber is saying.
Don't trust me. Trust the mother. I'm only the messenger, Holmes. This is the Church of the Mother of Silence. You are welcome here.
You have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. Is he just trying to throw you off your game? 'Tis not an act, my liege. Save him perchance, he hath deceived his very self. This man is a zealot.
Up there, Holmes. I am, at least in part, Holmes. Until the mother's love burns away the cruel distinctions of the body. Haven't you ever met a Mex before? Cabrón. Surprising number of us around Revachol. You know, I'm not so sure myself anymore. Don't really matter though. Glad you're feeling more comfortable. First-timers are always nervous.
The sinewy figure lingers on the wooden beams, blending into the shadows.
This is a special place. There's a perforation in the world up there, a way out into nothingness. This church was built around it for purposes of veneration. I circled it, nurtured by the silence bestowed by the mother. One of these days, I'll be pure enough to go drink from it directly. No. There's a new god in town, and she can be painted or sculpted because she has no limb or even a face. She is the end. She is a cavity in the dark beyond sense. She saved me, but I couldn't describe her to you. No one can, Holmes, and no one ever will. I will be incinerated, but not destroyed. finally at one with the state of the world before reality began.
That sounds a bit like substitution behavior, no? You know a thing or two about that.
It's not like that at all, man. It's just faith and joyful service.
Too gleeful, those words. He is lying. Not to you, to his very own self.
I heard that before, Way, and I know I can't convince you on the spot. But think, when's the last time you woke up from silent communion with a hangover, regretting what you did last night?
There are drugs darker than alcohol circling your system.
She took you for a good spin, huh? Don't worry, bro. That love is but a drop compared to the ocean of the mother's love. The mother will eat all of you and never spit you out. I know it will take time. Don't sweat it. I know it will take time. Hard to say. I think I did some construction work here, back when I still had material worries. Up there, I realized what the true purpose of the church was. Been spending a lot of time here ever since. The past is nothing to me now, Way. It didn't belong to me. I'm a seraph, Holmes. I sing the mother's glory. I don't mean literal singing, Holmes. This is the mother of silence we're talking about. It's the singing of a burning heart. You may be thinking, but fire crackles. No, Holmes, that's the material that's burning. The flames themselves are without sound. I think they were, a long time ago. I had to shed them like skins to get closer to the center of the silence. You could have them. I don't need them anymore.
The sinewy figure lingers on the wooden beams, blending into the shadows.
Something like that.
Did you witness it?
Not really, or at least I don't remember much of it anymore. The mother's love has done its job. That's what's so great about the mother. It lets you forget about everything. The ones in the tent outside, right? I see them. Think they scared of me. Why not? They wouldn't bother me none. I'm usually way up there, imbibing. Ain't no music on earth that can reach where I go. Might even be nice to have some company.
He said that in spite of himself. He's more attached to the human than he'd like to think.
Other spooker? Oh, esa viejita es muy estudiosa. Don't know, Holmes.
Viejita is grandma?
No. I just call her viejita because of her clothes. She's actually quite young. Or maybe not that young. Age is just one of the many masks we wear. That's what I said, Holmes. Don't really follow her comings and goings. Just see her typing on her computer now and then. We got different interests. I'm afraid not, Essay. You just have to wait until she comes back, or...